Air conditioner. Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with Xane Daniel. Hi, Xane. How are you?
Hello.
I'm so excited. We've been talking, or I've been trying to get you on for a while, and I'm so excited to get to know you better and to learn about how you help people and all. You are doing so many cool projects.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah,
so
I appreciate
oh,
it.
yeah, well, I'm kind of like that too, and doing it in a different way. So that's why I'm
Mm.
excited to learn more about what you do. And I really feel that your paradigm that you're using, where you're accessing higher consciousness through your relationships with other beings, is one of the blessings of this whole time period of people getting reconnected. So, Xane, you
Yeah.
have an amazing gift to help people release negative energy. And how did you discover that gift?
Wow, that's such a simple question with such a long answer. I like to say it like this. I was raised by scientists essentially. So my grandfather actually was a chemist, and he was hired by the U.S. government after World War II to work on triggers for the H bomb.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. And then, my father was an electrical engineer, and most of my uncles were some sort of engineer, a lot of times electrical. So I was raised in a family where we did not talk about religion. We didn't talk about spirituality. If we talked about it, it was, to laugh, kind of to chuckle and to point fingers. So it was not a consideration for me, any kind of spirituality whatsoever. And growing up and growing through most of my adult life, I thought that a psychic was somebody who had trained on how to fool others, right? Like I
Oh,
did not think
yeah.
that there was any legitimacy whatsoever to that. So with all of that, and then I worked in the video game industry for 22 years as a producer. So I worked with computational engineers, software engineers. So I definitely was just constantly surrounded by that science-based mindset. So it wasn't until I did an ayahuasca journey in 2013 that my mind was finally opened up to something else. And it was really a fascinating moment because as soon as it kicked in, I was speaking to the voice of universal knowledge. And I knew it. Like there was just this knowing that I was doing that. And so I went, oh, science knowledge, you mean nothing. And I just like got rid of it all because I was like, there is no explanation for me being able to talk to the voice of universal knowledge. So it doesn't apply. And so now it's all new. And it told me that I didn't love enough, in that, I loved a couple of people like my family and friends and no one else. And so they said, no, you got to love all. And I didn't understand what it meant. And it taught me about past lives. And then it also taught me about that I was being greedy, and I didn't understand what that meant. So it took me years after that first experience for me to finally like start to integrate all of that. But it made it easier when I discovered that I could continue to talk to it for, after the ayahuasca experience was over. So for years later, I was still talking to that voice of universal knowledge in my own head without having to be on anything. And so more and more synchronistic kind of amazing experiences happen to really drive home the truth of the spiritual and quantum existence. And then, one thing led to another, and I just kept learning more and more about who I was talking to, and that I had spiritual gifts and how to use them.
Fantastic. Well, I had they call it a spiritually transformative experience. 16 years ago without drugs. It was, I had been in a process called Avatar, and I was taking the wizards class, which was 2 weeks long. And 2 weeks of digging up all your stuff, you're like raw, you've surrendered. I mean, and then we did this process called the ultimate, where you erase everything in the universe except you. And so I got to see Source and me.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually have someone spotting you because you might not come back afterwards, because that space is very much like what people talk about for the near death experience.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but in your case, in ayahuasca, that's supposed to bring up the shadow side. So did those awarenesses of you being loving or kind, or any of those things that you needed to do, generous, um, did that continue to process where you saw the outside reflecting the inside? Is that part of the journey?
Well, what my experience has been with it, and is that it really helps you with your first three chakras. It helps you with fear of survival. It helps you with relationships and sexuality and confidence. Those are the main areas that it focuses on. So I don't necessarily believe, yeah, it can bring out some of the shadow stuff, but if you do it, 4 nights in a row, or you do it, in that, or more than that even, then once you kind of get over some of the most miserable or worst shadow stuff, then really it's starting to work on all kinds of those things, like I just said. So I didn't feel that the shadow part was as important as maybe others have. And in my second ayahuasca experience, which was in 2017, the spirit of ayahuasca came to me and said that I had been a shaman in my past lives, and that ayahuasca was my medicine, and that I had administered it to others in the past. And she asked, "Hey, would you like to be a shaman in this life?" And I said, "Sure, why not? Let's find out." And so she essentially taught me how to be a shaman in this life.
Wow.
And yeah, and so not that that has been a major part of my experience, but I have done it a few times for people, because I do something completely different. As we know, the healing work that does not require a plant medicine. And in all of those situations and cases, I've continued to do it because as a shaman, you do it along with the person that you're doing it for. It continues to show me more things about the universe and not so much about my shadow side. So, it was telling me many times over that we are all source, that there is no separation between us and source there, so that's been the focus for me. But what's beautiful about it is that it's different for everyone. And sometimes you're speaking to beings, sometimes you're diving deep inside, sometimes you're just being taken around a tour of the universe. So I've seen all of that.
That's so cool. So I have so many questions. Are you finding more people waking up and wanting your services after COVID, that something was triggered when they were at the beginning? Everyone thought we were, under attack by this invisible enemy, and a lot of people had to process their fear of death and their look at their lives so that they could really see, do I love this or not, and how could I love that? Are you finding that that a lot of your work right now is people that have kind of cracked open during this time?
I'm sure that is true. I have not specifically said, "Hey, when did this all happen?" When
Oh,
people come to me, right? Like I have on occasion found out that yes, it was during this time, but it may just be that there are many other factors that have led to the rise in interest. But I do know that COVID is definitely one of them, and that people have been isolated. People have been able to work from home, or they've lost their jobs and they have to face that. The friend of mine wrote a nonfiction book not that long ago, and it was about like Tinder dates or something like that. And she had an agent who read the book and just said, this book is amazing. Like everything in it is fantastic. But she said, I can't sell it because it's not spiritual. So the only thing that's selling right now is spiritual nonfiction books.
Yay.
Right.
Yeah,
So that tells you, where we're at as a society, that's what we're interested in right now. And we can definitely say that it's because of COVID.
Yeah.
I would say that the main reason that my stuff has kind of blown up is because I've really started my YouTube channel at the beginning of COVID. And then not that long ago, I did a TikTok video, which I just, I had like, 2 followers and I had like 12 videos on my TikTok. And one day I just went, it was a 15-second video, 15 seconds. I just said, hey, I can check to see if you have a negative entity attachment. So if you want to know, just leave a comment below. So I figured I'd get, maybe 20, 50 people, something like that. I got 120,000 people.
Oh my God.
With 12,000 people asking me if they had one. And I haven't even come close to getting through them all, but I've done it, and I've actually hired someone who's helping me go through them all to try to answer as many questions as possible. And so they then end up finding me, and then we end up having a conversation, and maybe, we work together. So
okay. So that's fantastic. And that's really when you know that you've hit a chord that really you can serve in a big way, because you can see that people realize, well, the unseen is now becoming seen and usable and available. And thank God. I mean, it's almost like we've been in the dark ages and we're coming back to the Renaissance. And there's so much available for us. So, okay. So I was taught when I learned energy medicine that, and I did have you ever heard of Bruno Goerning Circle of Friends? Have you ever? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I was a community leader here in Boulder for 5 years, and Bruno Goerning lived from 1906 to 1959, and in 1949 he healed 30,000 people from a balcony without touching anyone.
Oh yeah.
So this guy knew energy, and what I did as a community leader is I would lead a group every 3 weeks. And we do healings free. Everything's free. The music's free. Everything's free. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool. And what I would find is that when the energy was flowing, because I was kind of the conduit for it to go into the room, and usually there are 25 to 100, 25-ish people, I guess. Sometimes stuff would come to me. So like something would leave their elbow and come to my elbow. And I could just say, no, that's not mine. Mm-hmm. So I was taught that was not necessary. It's negative. It's dark energy, which could be an entity, but it's an energy form that they were a match to.
Right.
And is that what you're doing? Is you're infusing energy where you see dark energy and release it?
It's a lot more complicated than that, because what ends up happening is, the videos that I made on YouTube, I can remove a negative energy or a negative entity very easily. It comes out very quick. You can watch a YouTube video, and for the most part, your energy problem or entity problem will be gone. So, you can do that for free. Just jump on my YouTube. Uh-huh. However, there are some people who have what I dubbed as persistent entities. Right. So that means that even if they have it removed, they could go to the most powerful shaman and light workers of the world. They can have it removed, and then 1 week later or a day later or even an hour later, it just comes back. So I ended up developing a program to help people who have that specific problem, because they just kept coming to me. Yeah, many would watch the video and go, yay, I'm good, thanks. But then others would say, hey, I've still got this problem. At the time, I had created an ascension program. It was a 6-week program to help people just, default to a happy state of mind, to raise their vibration, to step into their power, to do all these things that could transform their lives. And it was working out really well. Then those folks came and they said, hey, I've got this problem and your thing worked, but it didn't work forever. And so I was kind of confused. And so I asked the Hathors, which is the main collective that I work with, and said, how can I help these people? And they said, well, put them in your ascension program. Like, oh, okay. So I brought them in there. And I remember at one point, it was like week 3. And the one lady said, when are we going to talk about negative entities? And I'm like, oh, well, we're not. This is not about negative entities. This is about you. So that it turned out that week was her breakthrough week, where she wasn't going to really have entity problems ever again. And then somebody else who had come in, it took all 6 weeks for that moment to happen. So then, and more people started coming. So I went, all right, well, I'm going to modify this. I'm going to make this program a little bit more about entities and a little bit, but still keep the same thing in general. And so now it's a 7-week program where everybody who comes in, what we do is a lot of energy work to raise their vibration. But the problem is you can receive energy work to raise your vibration, but if you don't change your mindset, then you're going to drop right back down into that same vibration you were in before. Right. So it's a combination of doing the energy work, but also training and teaching people how to take the metaphysical world, which we totally get and understand, and we've written about, and everybody, looks at metaphysics and goes, that's good stuff. Yeah. But we are actually applying it to your life. The other thing too is that the brain, we many of us are overthinkers, right? And so the shaman and the light workers of the world tell us that we need to shut down that brain, or we need to go to meditate, and we need to not use it so much. And that's wonderful and great, but a lot of people are not very good at it, especially those who are overthinkers. And I've found that those who are overthinkers are also the ones who end up with negative entity attachments.
Oh, interesting.
So what we do instead is we train us how to use that brain, not how to shut it off, but how to actually use it so that it's helpful for us instead of a detriment, which is much more fun anyway, because the process for doing it is thinking amazing thoughts. And it's fun to think amazing thoughts. Our brains are organs. Our hearts are organs. Our stomachs are organs, right? Our hearts pump blood and our stomachs digest food. Well, our brains just produce thoughts. That's all they do, 100,000 a day. So how are we going to turn off 100,000 a day? Are you going to make your heart stop beating? Or are you going to make your stomach stop digesting? No, you're going to continue to produce those thoughts anyway. So we might as well produce highly helpful, effective, and wonderful, beautiful thoughts. Then everything else is going to fall into place. The emotional system asks the brain, how should we feel? And the brain goes, well, I'm feeling miserable about that and this and that. Okay, let's feel miserable. Everybody, let's feel miserable. And then the emotional system follows that. So if we can change the way that you think, then the emotional system says, how do we feel? And the brain goes, well, I'm feeling some excitement and gratitude. And all that. Okay, give them excitement and gratitude, and it works really well. So all of this stuff interplays together to raise your vibration so much that now those negative entities can't align themselves with you because they are at a lower frequency. So they have to find some other solution, and we don't worry about that anymore. Bye-bye, we're good. So that's the main thrust of the approach.
So I really like this because it's self-empowerment, and that's really what this era is again, is the opportunity to choose. That's what really consciousness is making a choice and actually being aware of how it affects you. When you're working though as a shaman, it's very body, at least my knowledge of shamans here, the people I've worked with or know, is they're kind of just the facts kind of people. They're not, they don't whitewash anything. They just kind of tell the facts as it is. And it's very body, it seems very physical, but you're working with the Hathors and the Arcturians and other beings. Could you talk a little bit about how you integrate that use in this sphere?
Sure. Yeah, it's really cool. The Hathors are an extra dimensional collective, just like the Pleiadians or the Arcturians. a lot of people don't know them as well, but they were here incarnated on Earth during Egypt's golden age, and I was incarnated among them. And that's where I learned how to do my main modality. The Arcturians, I actually don't know as much about the Arcturians, and it was an interesting process as I got to know who I was working with, because anytime I would ask them, they would say, it's not important. What's important is the healing. What's important is the information. Yeah. So I didn't really get anything direct from them except for confirmation once I did discover who it was through someone else, actually. So that isn't as important as, and I'm just going to mirror them, right? That's not as important as the healing and the information. And so what happens with the information is, I'm not a trance channel. I mean, I've done it, but it's not my forte. And they've actually told me that they don't want me to trance channel as much, because with each incarnation, every person out there has their strengths, right? And their uniqueness, their artistry. And so they told me that part of my artistry was the way that I spoke and the way that I understood information and the way that I parsed it and delivered it. Right. So they're like, we don't want to make you just be a blind channel. We want to give you the information and allow you to explain it to people, because that's one of your unique gifts, or one of your incarnation gifts. So what happens for me is that somebody could ask me a question that I have no idea what the answer is. And then all of a sudden I'm just explaining it to them in my way of speaking, because the information is coming through as I start talking. So from that perspective, it's great. And I love it because, I teach that class. It's called Detached. And every week somebody asks me a question that I don't have any idea what the answer is. And then all of a sudden I'm saying all this stuff and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is nice. And I have it recorded so I can take it and use it and distribute it to other people. So it works out really nicely. Yeah.
So is it available at any time, or do you have to do a process to open it up?
Oh yeah, it's available at any time. I don't have to do anything at all. I used to do a lot more of like setting my intention and raising my vibration or changing my frequency to try to match theirs and everything. Now I don't feel I have to do that at all. It just kind of happens.
That's fantastic. So, and have you seen anything, like I've heard people that used to go to John of God, they would go, and then sometimes people would come home with entities, that other people released. Sure. Have you heard of that? Does that ever happen in your class, or have you heard of that?
No, yes, I know of what you're talking about for sure, but no, it doesn't happen. The main reason, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the Hathors are extremely powerful, and they are always with everyone who's in my program. So they're making sure that there's no cross-pollination of entities.
Perfect.
So, but the other thing is, I never have to worry about it, because here's how I look at it. If an entity came into my field, I would start laughing. I would be like, oh yeah, you think so? Really? You've chosen me of all the people? You've got a tough life ahead of you, because there is no way you are going to attach to me. There is no way you're going to affect me in any way. This is comedy. And that's how I look at entities, and that's how I teach people to look at it too.
Oh, that's fantastic. So when I was expressing the entity, I was talking about like a gray energy. It wasn't like a being. So you're seeing beings that you can talk to. Wow.
Yeah. So the people that come to me have all kinds of different stories. They're of all different levels. But a lot of times they're hearing voices. A lot of times they're hearing kind of very negative thoughts. Sometimes they're being sexually abused by their entities. Yeah, I mean, it goes into all kinds of different levels. And right now I'm filming a documentary for Cosmic TV that is all about the misdiagnosis of schizophrenia instead of the truth, which is likely negative entity or entity possession. So I've been interviewing psychologists and psychiatrists and other people in the healing world to try to get more and more information about, okay, when is it truly a neurochemical imbalance, and when is it truly an entity spirit attachment? I haven't gotten the answer yet, but I'm getting closer.
I remind me to tell you about a recording that was done of bees that cured schizophrenia. That
Oh, nice.
yeah, I remind me to tell you about that later.
Okay.
We'll get off track here. Okay, so when you did all this work and you've now accessed higher consciousness at a wish, they're on your beck and call, at your beck and call.
Yeah.
Is that because you have been so prolific? I mean, I've been trying to connect with you for a while, but you're doing this project and that project and that project.
Yeah.
Is that where like your whole world opened up, that you are like have superpowers of using time and concentration? Because you're amazing. I thought I did a lot.
Yeah, well, I was a producer in the video game industry for 22 years, like I said, and as a producer, my entire job was pretty much to make sure that 50 to 100 people knew exactly what they were supposed to do every minute of every day. And that, that kind of helps you organize your life. Because and anyone could walk into my office and I would just go, and they would go, what am I supposed to be working on? And I wouldn't even have to look at a list. Like, oh, you're working on this today. Like it was just so integrated into me. So I think that's really what it is. Plus, I do hire people that help me. And so, I've got that divided up really nicely. Of course, again, it all comes from that. So really, when you think about your life and all of the experiences that you've had, you get to apply all of those experiences to your mission. So if you were younger and you were a paper boy, right? So now you know how you're a logistics master, because you've got to drive around neighborhoods and time it all up so you get all the papers delivered on time. You can do that now for the rest of your life. So what I'm talking about is no different. It's just that I'm using the different skills that I developed throughout my life to do these sorts of things. We can all do it.
Yeah. Well, I ran a division of Arthur Andersen with 80 employees underneath, but I definitely needed a spreadsheet because.
Oh yeah, well, I still used a spreadsheet for my team, no doubt about it. But I would get to know it really well, right? Like I knew what everybody was supposed to be doing. Yeah.
Well, you kind of have a pulse on each project, and they're kind of your babies, because they are. I mean, that's what this energy allows, is that you can pull it in and land it here in 3D. There's no veils anymore. There's no restrictions. It's your mind that creates the restrictions. So instead of a stop sign, you can go, well, how could I? How could this happen? And so, and then all of a sudden, boop, 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 boop.
Right. So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I follow my excitement. So that's the way that I recommend to everyone, is that if you go, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming and this is difficult and this, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it, that might be part of your mind saying, this isn't really our excitement area. But I do have a little fun tool to discover what that might be. And because sometimes we get so bogged down by the reality, and we go, oh, I've got this responsibility and I don't have time for that. And, all this no stuff. Right. So one of the way you could do it is, if you have an idea, there's something that you'd really like to do, but you're finding all those blockages in front of it. Imagine that you could clone yourself, and one of you does the idea and one of you goes ahead with something else the rest of your life, whatever the other alternative thing is. And then you imagine being each one. And then I ask this question: which one would you be most jealous of?
Oh, wow.
That's the true, jealousy is like the opposite of excitement. So if you find yourself going like, oh man, I really wish I were doing that instead of this, that's helping you find out what your excitement level is.
Wow, that's so cool. That is so cool. Yeah, I really think that you attract so much of this by the excitement. And I tell my clients when we're working, it's like, hey, people are buying your energy. And if you're not giving it energy, then it's there. That's part of your success path, really.
Yeah.
So what do you feel is going to be the fastest way for society to wake up, because you can feel right now that the energies. I mean, and we will talk about your higher self expo, because that's part of it for sure.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
what I'm just wondering if you see a tipping point. It feels like we're close. So I mean, there were early adopters, and a lot of that is still people in drama and creating fear and conspiracy and contrast. And then you've got the other people that are in kind of la la land, that are grounded. And then we've got what you're doing, and what hopefully I'm doing, is giving people tools and a path to their divinity.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're close. What do you
Mhm.
think?
Well, yeah, I think we're close, but I mean, I think we're going to feel like we're close for a while. And I think that's totally okay. It's all beautiful. It's all supposed to happen exactly like this. So I'm not really too worried about it. I'll give you one of the things that I like to say to people, because really the driver, I feel like, to an awakening experience is dealing with the negative things in life, being burdened, and being dealing with your childhood traumas, and dealing with your abuse situations and blockages and all that drives people to go, I don't want to deal with this anymore. What's the solution? So I think that thing that we're trying to heal for everyone is actually a huge catalyst to awakening. So it's okay that it continues to happen. I mean, negative entity attachments drive you to someone like me, and then you raise your vibration, and in the process, you might discover your spiritual gifts or your spiritual mission. So they're actually helping you, even though for many people it's horrible and they feel like they're not a help at all. Like, you're crazy to even say something like that, but it truly is driving you to do that sort of thing. But I want to say it like this. I'm sure you've heard lots of people talk about the third dimension, the fourth, and the fifth dimension, and everybody wants to get to the fifth dimension. That's our big goal. Well, here's how I look at it. I say, okay, imagine I had a door, and I opened the door for you, and you could see through that door. You could see that it's the fifth dimension, and so I would say to you, would you go through that door? Would you go through that door,
Yeah,
Kathy?
yeah, as often as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say then you step through that door. You would notice that you were still in the 3D reality, and you would turn to me and go, WTF, Xane, like you said that if I went through the door, I would be in fifth dimension. And it's actually a trick question. When you look at that doorway, you say instead, actually, I don't need to go through that door at all. Everything in the third dimension is perfect exactly as it is. I am here to witness the experience of us all moving from the third to the fifth dimension. I don't have to hurry up and get there. This is an incredible process, and I'm so glad to be here. As soon as you say that, you are in fifth dimensional consciousness, which is where you really want to be.
Okay, so I'm calling fifth dimensional consciousness soul body fusion, where you're able to activate your light body and hold more light enough to be in the world and the observer of it. So a lot of, like, right now we're talking and I'm still up here. So observing it, and delighting in it.
Yeah.
Sending it happy energy, right? So the thing is that and it's not fragmenting yourself. You're actually it's like more of a soul retrieval. So more of that light that you really are, and more of that frequency can be directed towards love. But I mean, some of the readings I'm doing, because I do soul purpose work with marketing, where I bring people's, I actually see a movie of people's soul, best soul timeline process. And so what happens is most of the time I'm out there just interpreting things. Every once in a while I'm in there. Sometimes, one time somebody jumped in my third eye and went with me to their movie. No popcorn, but that was wild. But I'm seeing more and more and more people taking those milestone steps, those steps from where they are to where they want to be, and choosing it with excitement. And that's another part of it, is what you're saying, the joy factor.
Yeah.
And it's so exciting to see. The childhood traumas and all of that seems to be a lot of times what their gift is to do in this lifetime. So if you've had PTSD from a physical trauma with your family, a lot of times you created a superpower from that, and then you use it to help others. So are you seeing that too?
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing because everybody's gifts and everybody's experiences are as unique as them. And that's what's beautiful about it.
Right.
My first exposure to all of this was Jaylene Tracy. And she and I were in a program that helps you discover what your spiritual gifts are. And they don't teach you a modality. It's just, you're in this program to find your unique thing. And so she and I, and part of the thing in the program was that you worked with each other, all the other light workers who were trying to discover their gifts. We're practicing on each other, which was amazing, right? So I'm in this session with Jaylene Tracy, and she says, "Okay, I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to be able to see your internal organs." Now think about this. I have not been exposed to this stuff at all. Like, this is brand new to me, and I'm just like, "What? You can close your eyes and see my internal organs?" And so she looks and she sees that there's some bacteria in my colon area that needs to be rearranged. So I close my eyes as she instructs, and then she starts singing. She starts making audible noises, right? And then my colon starts going, rah, 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 and I'm like, oh my gosh, this woman is singing to my butt. It was the most amazing experience. And so that's what's beautiful about this whole thing, is that everybody has their unique gifts. And it's finding it out. Yeah, you can go get Reiki, and that is part of your journey, but that's not where it ends.
Right.
You think that's where it ends, then you are cutting yourself off from something even more amazing and astonishing.
Okay, so that's perfect, and hello everybody, and Amy Lightwalker's here. There's 22 people on right now watching us, so thank you everyone. Yeah. And if you have questions for Xane, please ask them. Are you finding that when you first saw so you hear, do you see also?
A little. I mostly hear, though. It's mostly comes through voices and thoughts. When that first thought came in, I would just say, or the voice of universal knowledge came in, I would just say it sounded like a thought, but it started using language that I don't normally use. And, it just felt different. It just felt like I wasn't generating it. So, yeah, that's the way that I would describe that.
And did you find, it's taken me a really long time to admit what I do. I was incognito for a long time. So how did that process work for you? Did you just sort of go, oh hell, I got it, I gotta share it, or is that the way it just came? So cool?
Yeah, because part of that learning process was working with that Lightworker group, and so we were all like, once we were told, okay, you can tell the world, I did. I was like, yeah, let's do this. This is crazy. And it was cool. It's cool for me because I was from that science background. I make these weird noises. I also do noises, and these weird noises like change people. And so I'm all excited to share that with people. And if anybody says, you're crazy, it doesn't do anything, I would say something like, I know, I am crazy. It's totally crazy. Like, it shouldn't work. But if I go blah, blah, then it does. And you feel different. You want to try it, And so because I was so happy and excited and looking at it like a child, like a joyful child, it was easier for them to go, okay, let's see what this is. And then, I remember I did it to a science-based friend of mine who just studies it all the time. Like you could ask him anything about current science discoveries. He'll just be able to rip it off for you. So I said, here, I'm going to do the soul essence activation for you. I'm going to do this thing to your chakras, and you're going to feel it, and you're going to transform, and right in front of me, like right now. And he's like, yeah, okay, sure. And he participated in it. And when it was all done, he's just like, I feel like I'm on an acid trip right now. And I said, okay, science guy, what did I just do? And he goes, you had to do something at the quantum level. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, there's no explanation for you being able to just make some sounds, and now I feel like this.
Great. That's so great.
So it's been an awesome journey.
Well, I'm always delighted when someone tells me later what happens, because I see these movies and like I work with this amazing, beautiful woman in Hawaii named Bree Wolf, and we did the cover of her book. We published books, and 2 hours or the same day that we picked, I intuited a cover. She picked it. She texts me and go, oh my God, I'm in that spot.
Oh.
And I bought it off of a stock photo place, right? But it was like the frequency was right. We can pattern and place energy in this image, and then of course he found it, and stuff like that happens all the time. And but I don't know if I still need the validation, but it feeds me a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you get excited. It gives you some excitement. It gives you a burst of energy, a proof. And, because we still are these 3D beings at some level, and so we do like to see that more than experiential proof, like actual, like, yeah, my life has changed because of this experience, or oh yeah, we had a shared past life and we both had the same vision at the same time, that sort of thing. It really goes a long way to helping us reassure ourselves that what we're talking about is not BS.
That's crazy. Yeah, because some of this stuff is, I'm not a trance channel, but their soul uses me. It's like their soul's trying to get the memo to them. And so it's been trying for a while. So it finds me from all over the world, and then has me, I'm kind of stepping aside while the soul's talking, although I'm using my words to translate what it sees. And so, the first time I did it, someone kicked me out of their office because they said, this is not right. And then within, I think it was 6 weeks, all of it came true. She was on stage, dancing, singing, and this was an energy healer. And she says, I don't know why my accountant told me to work with you. This is all bullshit. And then later on, she calls, because she almost kicked me out of her office. And it wasn't my fault. Sometimes you have to watch it. You have to watch it a little bit. So, so when you do one-on-ones with people, how long are they? And I want to make sure people know to go to Xane Daniel, and I'll share the banner too. And then we'll talk about the higher self expo.
So the sessions, you can do a one-on-one session with me, but most of my time now I spend in that ascension program. So I mostly bring people into that, and they just have absolute transformation. Bolus in the chat right now he desires ascension, right? So he could join this program, which actually is 7 weeks long, and the next one starts in just a week or two. It's July 27th, and I only run them every 2 months. So now's a great time to jump into it, and he will completely go through the ascension process. So that's really what I do. So most of the time, though, it's people coming in that are being tortured by negative entity attachments and negative energies and that sort of thing. But the program works for anyone who is ready to go ahead and have that ascension experience. So that's 7 weeks. 90 minutes a week in a group class. I also do a one-on-one version of that, which is now 90 minutes just with me, and we're really directly affecting your past life experience, your childhood traumas, your blockages, your all that stuff.
Wow. So yeah, this is wonderful. So cultivating to 5D, what to do regarding a fairly reasonable sounding online tarot reader until her cards told her Mary was raped by a Roman soldier and Jesus is the result.
Interesting.
Yeah. That would be upsetting if.
Well, it's just a story, right? Like, that's the thing, is all these things are wonderful and they're fantastic, and we love entertainment and we love stories. Stories is the way that we pass down information before we had written language and all that. So, stories should be respected and adored, but they shouldn't always be followed to the letter. They are just one possibility, and all possibilities exist throughout all time. So the main story that you want to focus on is the fact that you are source. You are the creator, and you've come here. You've decided to forget that you're the creator so that you can have this incredible experience. Because as the creator, you cannot die. And when you can't die, you can't experience fear. And if you can't experience fear, then most of the other emotions that are available to us here on this planet are inaccessible to you. So what's the way that you would have access to those emotions? You would make it so that you forget that you're infinite, that you forget that you're the creator, then remove your amazing unlimited power, and you would come here to experience life as one of these human things. You would then go through that whole human thing life, and you would one day die, and you would wake up after this dream, and you would say, oh my gosh, it was all me. Everything was me. Every person I interacted with, every object, everything. It was all me. That was great. Let's do it again.
It's like a roller coaster ride, And the reason I mentioned soul body fusion before is I really think that the early adopters to this information, 60s, 70s, 80s, a lot of the people were, I want to get out of my body, get out. Mm-hmm. And really a lot of the people who've had traumatic experiences already are out, and the whole gig is getting in with that awareness. So that's where all the power is. That's where all the game is. Really, right?
Yeah. Do you want to run screaming from this life that you came here to experience? I'm sure you're familiar with soul contracts. You came here with the soul contract to have those negative, miserable experiences. You chose them exactly as they happen. So why would you want to run from that? Like, you had soul confidence. That's what I call that moment when you choose, well, yeah, I'll take the person who is abused and who lives on the street and who has addiction issues and all that, because I know I can handle it. I know I can transcend that. I know I can wake up to the fact that everything is unconditional love, because that's what everything is. So bring it on. Bring me the toughest, challenging experience you can possibly give me, because I'm infinite. I can do this. And then when you get into this life, you go, oh no, what a decision. That was a terrible decision. But you don't totally remember that you made the decision. So you look at yourself as the victim, as the problem, as the happenstance created all this. Why me? All that stuff. That is not the path to transcending it. That is the path to continuing to wallow in misery. So we instead should turn to face that negative stuff and go, yeah, I can handle that. Bring it on.
Yep. Perfect. And so I really hope that everyone does go to Xane's YouTube channel and his website, and in the banner going below, there's a free gift that he has that's absolutely fabulous. It's free.xanedaniel.com. And then now let's talk about the Higher Self Expo. And I have to say, you have picked some amazing people. I've been watching. I am on your email list, so I get all the pre-recordings, and I'm fascinated with these amazing people, because they're the kind of people that find me It's people that need to be launched, that they got something. They got it, they know it, but it's like a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
They're just getting there. And you found some amazing people. So do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is going to be our fourth event. And it's kind of amazing because we started it right at the beginning of COVID, because I realized that that was the best way to go. Like, we're going to be stuck at home. So let's do an online metaphysical conference. So this is our fourth one. And the last couple, we have done a theme. And so the theme for this one is where science meets spirituality. Other ones were, the 0 point of non-judgment and other things. So we decided, let's see how far science has come. Because I say that spirituality is just science that science hasn't figured out yet. So let's see how close they've come to us. Now I look at it like our spiritual world, we get it, and the scientists have to catch up. And they have been. And that's what's really amazing. So it's going to be a mix of light workers and scientists and world changers who have discovered all these different things. They're going to talk about their discoveries and how it all works, which is really amazing. And this is going to be the very first time that we do this as a 24-hour broadcast.
Wow.
So we start at 9 a.m. Pacific time in the U.S. We do 8 hours in the U.S., then we do 8 hours in Australia, and then 8 hours in Europe to end up the next morning at 9 a.m. So 36 speakers over 24 straight hours, 6 hosts in 3 continents. So it's a big undertaking. But so I would have to say, I found about 4 or 5 of the speakers, and the rest came from all the other hosts doing all this amazing work and people that they know and have learned about and so on and so forth. So it's a quite the collaborative effort. So yeah, so you can go to higherselfexpo.com down there. You could go to even higherselfexpo.com/registration to register for it. Yeah. You'll be added to the mailing list, and you'll be able to learn lots and lots more about each of the speakers, and you receive the links on how to watch it and so on and so forth.
Yeah, this is really a great way to learn. And, people they might be stuck watching series on TV or Netflix or watching YouTubes. This is really a great food for your soul to watch any of them. All of them have been great. But I just wanted to compliment you on the people that you find, because they really are. They're unique. They have some part of the recipe that's really ideal. I wanted to read one thing to you because of your science background. This is from Peter Panagore, who's a reverend and a near-death experiencer.
Oh, okay.
And he said so we've been talking about the Great Global Awakening, and it's not a flash of light and everything. And he says, as I reflected on, he's talking about Palm van Lommel, is who he quoted, that between 5 and 10% of our population has been resuscitated in the medical industry and has had mystical experiences. And his theory is something's going to pop them open, that they wrote it off as a dream or the drugs or whatever. And he says, if there is a conspiracy, Okay. I saw the global phenomenon clearly. If there is a conspiracy, it is between science and God to raise a nation of mystics.
Beautiful.
And that's what you're doing.
Right.
That's what you're doing. Only you're doing it on a global scale. You're raising the mystical possibility for every single person to remember their divinity, remember who they are.
Right. Yeah, because I don't want to have people come back to me. Like, I mean, I love them and I'll always love them. But I'm saying, like, when I teach them how to remove negative entities, how to ascend and all that, they shouldn't need to come back to me, because they are now so powerful that they move on to greater and bigger things. I'm not, I think it's a fear-based mindset to need to feel like you need to bring people back. It's really it's the allopathic system. It's the you have to keep taking the same medication for the rest of your life so we continue to make money off of you. That's not the way to look at it. That is a very 3D mindset. The 5D mindset is I am the creator and I can heal myself and I can find the word of God myself, and so on and so forth. So that's the empowering that we're doing, and it's very rewarding to watch it happen.
Well, when you see that your soul profile, if you want to call it, is really projecting this out, then it's a whole different game altogether, because then you can go to the soul and work on. That's what she was doing with sound, or what you do with sound, is project it in a different way, change the lens,
Right.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
once again, if you want to work with Xane, it sounds like the best way to work with him right now is sign up for that class that's coming up in July. And
Mm.
and if you don't get this one, you got to wait another 2 months. And this is perfect timing during the summer.
Yeah.
And go and sign up for the Higher Self Expo. You will be amazed at the combination of people that have different worldviews, from science to spirituality, and the language they use resonates so much. It's almost like a new vocabulary in our communications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're just amazing folks, and that's why I started doing the Higher Self Expo. Is that I realized that I was pretty focused on my own stuff, and so I realized, boy, there's an awful lot of wonderful people out there that I can get to know and connect with, and maybe even work together with. And so that was part of the reason. And sure enough, I'm going to be working with some of the amazing speakers in this group.
Yes, isn't that great? Yeah, I think this is the time of collaboration, and COVID allowed a lot of people to find each other,
Yeah.
where there might not have been that push, but it actually worked beautifully for us all to find each other and help as many people. Some people want to be seekers and want to keep seeking, and some
Yeah.
people want to find, and then party with it. That's what.
Right. Joy.
Yes. Well, but the thing is, did you ever watch X-Files? You remember
Not a great deal, but I know of it. Yeah.
at the end of the original ones, there was this little girl's voice said, "I did this." And it's just this random thing this girl says, "I did this." And that's me. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I get to make another book, or I get to help somebody launch their website, or I got to help them create an online program. There's some sort of weird joy in helping somebody birth their stuff. So I think that's what you have too, because you're birthing all this. You're birthing amazing stuff.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, there's one more thing that we didn't even talk about too, and that's the comic book series that I
Yeah.
write and publish, which is called Righteous, and it's about a mass spiritual awakening, and it's written with the masses in mind. It's not written as a spiritual work necessarily. It is, but it's not. It's not about the Pleiadians or the Arcturians. It's about a regular guy who is a greedy corporate analyst, and he has this moment where he is transformed by a being of light that touches him on the forehead and changes him so that he can only help other people instead of just make money for himself. And the twist is that every time he helps someone, they get it too. They have to help others. And so it's my way of spreading enlightenment to the masses.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, and again, what Zane's doing, it's like edutainment, I guess I want to say, because
Yeah.
it's not this heavy. Even though he was brought up in a science background that is real, your priority is your mind. What he's doing is bringing in this whole heart-based work and joy and love in it. So I highly recommend that you sign up for Higher Self Expo, and you'll see what they've done and the collaboration is a great model for what our next steps are. And also go to Xane's site and sign up for his free gift and get on his email list, because you're going to want to watch what this guy does. He's got it. He said, "Well, I'm serious. I am a big fan. I'm a big."
Oh, thanks, Kathy. That's so awesome. Yeah, I would love for everybody to check out what we're doing. You know, that comic book, we've already written the pilot script for the pilot episode to turn it into a TV show. Because, you know, entertainment, I do feel that entertainment is a huge avenue, and we're going to see it more and more. We're going to see, you know, our Netflix shows are going to be a lot more about spiritual awakening or loving, you know, caring kinds of things, rather than just, you know, asteroids crashing into the planet and post-apocalyptic misery. It's going to start to transform, and that's when you're really going to see the masses shift. Right. That's going to be kind of like the last indicator when our entertainment gets transformed into spiritual awakening entertainment. Then look out, we're almost there.
Right. Well, the ancients knew that frequency and sound and vibration was the key to harmonious life, and harmony and love are partners in all of this. So what you're seeing is you're seeing Xane open the door for you to have experiences so that you can be in harmony and light for yourself, and then finding experts that are bringing the science, the rational conversation with it, but a language. That's what I want everyone to understand, that we're learning a conscious, like this is called conscious business zone. That word conscious wasn't even in the vocabulary 10 years ago, hardly.
Right.
I mean, people just are, right? So now what you're finding is you're finding just this amazing opportunity to use this language with a higher frequency and have a more connected, and it's the interim until we're telepathic. We have to clean up this stuff before we be telepathic, or we'll have a mess.
Yeah. That old phrase, "it's just business," is always used as an excuse to do something terrible to others. So
no, everything's relationship. Everything is relationship. Relationship with self and others. And and this is the time that we came here to shift all of that to this new paradigm that, as you said, it'll be years in the making. But you guys watch Xane.
Yeah, you can check out my YouTube channel as well. I definitely have a lot of videos on there now, and I try to release one every week with new information, like we were talking about earlier, or the info that I get when the Hathors give me some answers to some questions, or I didn't know the answer until I started talking, blah, and then it comes out. So lots of good stuff there too.
Well, thank you so much. And again, I hope we get to play at some point again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.